Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
Welcome to Deep Pockets with Petra Söderling, the show about government and innovation. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and the music created by a New Orleans jazz icon Leroy Jones. Find this and other Leroy Jones tunes wherever you get your music. My guest today is Janne Uusilehto, a pioneer in cybersecurity and privacy engineering. Over the past 20 years, Janne has led security and privacy at companies like Nokia, Microsoft, and Google, where he helped design privacy systems that protect billions of users. He's also been at the center of global standardization efforts, bringing together competitors to agree on common rules for mobile security. No small feat. Beyond industry, Janne has advised governments, the EU, and even NATO on how to keep our digital world secure. Today, we'll talk about why standards matter, where cybersecurity is headed, and how tech policy and geopolitics are shaping the future of innovation. Welcome to Deep Pockets, Janne.
Thanks, my pleasure.
So let's start by you have been at the heart of cybersecurity for more than 2 decades, from Nokia to Google, and you've helped set and drive global standards. Standards are one of 2 of my pet peeves that many people find strange. The other one is forklift trucks. So I have a fairly good understanding of what they are and why they are needed. But for someone outside of this field, why should they care about standards and standardized cybersecurity in particular? How does this really affect everyday life?
That's a good question. I'm sure what sexy I can answer to this, but maybe I go for more generic terms. I think for the security professionals especially, standards are giving like a peace of mind a little bit, because they actually give more possibilities to improve the security in general. Like the security system design is benefiting from standards. And it usually happens through that security standards are well tested, they are transparent, they are often updated, and that helps to simplify the system. Like the one really general rule in security is complexity is the biggest enemy of security. Like more complex the system is, more probable it has vulnerabilities and troubles. Yeah. And therefore, like, in a really high level, I could say that if you use standardized security, you are already on a good track.
Yeah. It's a bit like I had a guest on AI regulation, and she was saying, when people are saying, oh, the regulation is stifling innovation, she was saying, no, it's actually the opposite, because once you have the regulation, once you have the rules, it's predictable and people can just, implement those rules, and it actually helps them innovate. It doesn't prevent innovation.
Yeah, that's the positive side of regulation.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so let's continue on standardization. One of my favorite stories about standards, and I'm not telling you who told me this, you probably know him, has to do with Nokia. Our listeners may remember that in the early days of cellular networks and mobile phones, it was basically Nokia, Ericsson, and Motorola who were creating all of the enabling technologies. And they had the foresight to inject their essential patents to the 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, now even 6G standards, which means that anyone making 5G phones today, including Apple and Samsung, have to pay a hefty fee to these companies. And I heard a rumor that Nokia could make up to $10 per each iPhone sold, which is just amazing. I mean, just think about the number of iPhones and multiply that by 10. So a company can sit back and watch money flow in, like a passive income for a company, because they were smart about it 20 years ago. So I'm always thinking that people are trying to sell standardization to companies in the wrong way. And often it's the government, it's the bureaucrats who are telling companies, you should go to standardization because then you can contribute to the standards. But instead they should be saying that you should go to standardization because you can benefit from that. You will actually be making money. So Janne, you led the cybersecurity standardization at Nokia. And in that role, you made industry competitors agree, and I was actually there with you at TCG, so we had our fierce competitors there. But you made them agree on shared mobile security standards, something that sounds almost impossible. So build on my example of the telecom standard and explain to our listeners why are standards so critical in technology, and what did it take to get those rivals to work together?
Yeah, I can't really confirm or deny Nokia's business models or what they get from the standards, but yes, there's a potential that when you get your ideas standardized and have a essential patent there as a part of the standard, there is income made through that. However, some of the standardization or industry forums I've been working, they had this kind of IPR rules, which kind of helps to make it reasonable. Like they have policies which say that, if you have patents in scope of the standard, you have to share that information with the rest of the membership on that standardization forum. And then there's an agreement that you can't start, just being a patent troll and suck all the money from the business from others, but you must have a reasonable licensing rules.
But some companies have tried, I think.
I think there has been issues because otherwise nothing would be written in the policies. Yeah. But that really is makes sense because it's a lot of effort for any company to contribute standards. Like you and me know that we had to do a lot of meetings, and like you said, gaining on consensus as a part of the meetings with the competition wasn't always automation. I was a little bit lucky on my journey because when we started to standardize the methodology, like industry best practices, but also the technologies, we were so much ahead of the industry, especially in the vendor side, like the device manufacturer side, that after Nokia was kind of done on the ideas, others were still not even started. Wow. So when we went to propose these ideas that how things should be moving forward on the mobile systems, others were actually open for new ideas. Like that, okay, I didn't think about this before, so thanks for sharing. Yeah. And of course, they are still suspicious and they have their own patent portfolios and ideas, so it really didn't go like that we are just sharing everything and everybody's happy. Yeah. But it helped a lot that people were listening. They were willing to listen us and make their own take on that, and therefore I didn't have to have uphill battle on already existing billion ideas how to secure mobile ecosystems. Yeah. Other thing, what helped me was also that we were so early in Nokia that Nokia really didn't have much idea how security should be treated after we went to the era of openness, because Nokia also had it dark past of doing proprietary security solutions in dark rooms and hiding everything. But when we really started to do large-scale security, we started to use open standards, open platforms, and secret keys. And that also helped us that when we went to standardize this, we kind of were able to share this. There was no resistance in Nokia. I've seen some companies that they actually say that, no, you are not telling this to our competition. Yeah. And I learned this from the financial industry. I used to work in the 90s in the banks, and there was this kind of, I think it wasn't really written anywhere, but there are these kind of rules that security never is competitive advantage. You are not going out and saying that, our service is more secure than yours. Because everybody is potentially vulnerable, but they just don't know it. And the other thing is that it's always industry-wide. Like we have seen that if one mobile platform is having a lot of trouble, the whole industry is getting trust hit anyway. Yeah. So that helped us a lot of going out, share all the information we have, and get an like alignment between the parties. And one example I still entertain myself is that Apple, which has been known to be quite secret on whatever they do, I was even invited to talk to Apple how to do product security engineering and engineering practices.
Yeah.
And they were super open on that. Like I was really welcomed and they listened carefully. But of course, they didn't share anything afterwards because it's Apple.
And they were really not in the standardization forums back then.
Back then, no. Like they were having their own ideas, but they started to build up the strategy when they realized that they can't really have proprietary technologies anywhere or everywhere all the time. So they have to have a like common APIs as well and like sharing the mobile network with others.
Yeah.
But giving an example of a trusted computing group, I think that was really, really nice there that how to align the competition and different interests. Yeah. The key to me was that everybody was willing to contribute to use cases.
Yeah.
Like when we started to technical specification, we started from use cases.
Yeah.
And the use cases were like forward-looking, business-enabling use cases, not just, okay, we are preventing this and that hack or attack, but more like we are enabling mobile payments, we are enabling content protections, confidentiality, privacy, like looking positive side and listing what were our top desired enabled use cases by that standard. That get everybody's buy-in, even the competition was, we should enable this in our mobile platforms. So that really helped to align people. If we would be just jumping in a technical specification to start writing how many bits and bytes we want to do, there would be a huge fight and years of fight and no results.
Yeah. We're discussing cybersecurity and standardization with Janne Uusilehto. We're going to take a small break, but we'll be back after this message. Thanks for listening to Deep Pockets. If you like these conversations in the intersection of government and innovation, you may be interested in my weekly Substack newsletter, Deep Policy. Each week, I share a mix of deep dive essays, timely analysis, and cultural reflections, always with an eye toward what matters to you, the choices being made now that will shape your future economy, your industry, and your society, our society. Go to petrasodelling.substack.com and find Deep Policy newsletter, our mirrored episode from this podcast, my Substack notes archive, and more. And we're back with Janne Uusilehto. Let's continue to explore the fascinating world of security. Cyber threats often feel mysterious and abstract until they hit headlines and become real, like a ransomware attack shutting down hospitals or energy pipelines, or a hostile foreign government jamming the GPS signal in the neighboring country. And actually, in fact, just this week there was a story of the UK government announcing a 1.5 billion loan guarantee for Jaguar Land Rover because they were experiencing a disruptive cyber attack that hit them. So this is really big stuff, and as the example shows, sometimes taxpayers need to foot the bill. So Janne, from your perspective, what is the biggest challenge the world is facing when it comes to companies, organizations, and government agencies protecting themselves?
I would probably divide my answer for two different pieces. One is like emerging issues. Other is that the good old bad things still valid. And let's start from the boring one, because it's, the main thing there is that we still are suffering a lot on like simple things like social engineering. People are still talking too much, sharing too much, and when they see an interesting email or link, there are always somebody who's selecting the link and giving all the information out. And it's still a really, really common attack vector for many. Other thing is the nature of needed security is like in uneducated management boards and business decision making, money tends to flow for, on the lack of the better word, security theater. Like, companies are making like big certifications, big standard contributions on like, how would I say, getting certified and getting visible on that and investing a lot of resources and money for that effort. But engineering is lacking that resource. Yeah. And the challenge is coming through that when you are doing security system design, it's proactive work, which is mostly based on that you are expecting things to go wrong. You are assuming these are your critical assets and you are protecting them. And practically, if somebody doesn't understand the nature of the security, they can think that that's just speculation. How can you say it's going to happen? But when you are showing that, okay, let's do this certification, there are all these consultancy companies lined up and telling how important it is to everything. It's so easy to invest on that and make it visible because, of course, it's a business enabler as well. So I don't say the certification and standards are bad because they actually enable markets. They convince your customers that you have done something right. But the problem I'm trying to point out is that they still are not everything. And the main topic there is that instead of only investing on tools, certification, and standards, you should invest in people. People make the difference that if you have highly skilled security professionals, they know where to invest, they know what tools to use, how to use those tools, how to automate and create systems. But this is like, the old generic thing I've been talking over decades, because this is somehow like, my mantra. But the rising issues, I still see like automated AI-driven attacks. That's something which is really contributing to discussion we had like a decade ago that how we should automate our response, like security incident response, system response to the attacks, because AI is making social engineering easier, but it also makes polymorphic software development easier. Like when you have a malware, it can change its form on its way, it can change its approach on its way, depending what opportunities it's scanning out of the system. And that makes it way, way faster. Like it doesn't anymore require a person in the other end to choose where to go, but the AI-driven attack is actually driving itself through the systems. And that's one really interesting thing. The other thing is like supply chains are so long, and it's so easy to rely on pieces of software from internet, from what other sources, and nowadays, of course, AI is generating you a wonderful set of code, which is introducing
coding.
Yes.
Yep.
Which is introducing a new set of risks that who actually knows what happens inside the code. It has been always a problem, but now it's making it more evident for the reason that developers are not anymore developers. They are more like architects, and they are just slamming code in, and when it works, it's fine. Of course, security testing is playing a role here as well, but when the supply chain is long, you are not probably testing everything you get in binaries and libraries, etc. So it's a really, really interesting thing. And lastly, I see the quantum computing there, and many know I'm a quantum computing skeptic, but I still have healthy skepticism there that I can't say, is it going to happen or is it not going to happen, but because the risk is so huge, you don't afford to not pay attention and see and follow what's going on. And I think these are the three major rising issues at the moment. So the automated attacks, the AI-driven attacks, the supply chain, invisibility for the software and code through the supply chain and AI-generated code, and then the quantum computing.
Okay, let's talk about quantum. Let's talk about tech policy and geopolitics. You, Janne Uusilehto, you have advised governments from the UK to China to NATO, and you yourself have you've had an admirable career both in the Europe and in the US. So you're in New York. Are you a US citizen, by the way? Or?
I am Finnish citizen and US citizen,
both.
Yes.
Okay, so
yes.
Dual citizenship.
So far two only.
Okay,
yeah.
Excellent, good track. So geopolitics is, I am too, so, and it's a very tough situation that we have right now between the US and Europe on tech policy and other policy sides. So technology is at the center of these geopolitics. There's data protection, data ownership, AI regulation. We discussed the AI, the European AI regulations. There's cybersecurity. I mentioned GPS. I'm currently representing Finland at the ISO IEC JTC 3 group that standardizes quantum technologies, and it's global. And I have to tell you, Janne, there is not always a lot of love in these rooms, where you have China, Russia, Japan, South Korea, and the Western countries, EU countries, all trying to get their view into the documents. And some of these countries are really well organized, much better than some other countries. I'm not going to name any names, but I'm sure you and the listeners can have an educated guess. So in your view, Janne, what should the role governments play here? I mean, there are so many aspects to think about. There's the regulation aspect. EU and member states can mandate an existing standard. Like, for example, we're all using USB-C chargers now. But they can also help companies in their country to come together and work under a national strategy umbrella to push certain topics or certain technologies forward inside the standardization forums. And countries could even fund domestic companies for doing the standardization work. So what's your view?
If this is like a wish list, I feel like shopping.
Yeah.
Because now I'm talking to the right person, so it's really nice to get my voice heard. Of course, there's lots of things over the years I've been thinking on how to, utilize this, how to make it good for all. And the first thing coming into mind is that, the government's EU, whatever framework we want to have, they should really enable the collaboration. Like, the learning from the past when I was doing these security technologies and trying to get them globally accepted, there was lots of so many conflicting ideas. Like in one sense, the law enforcement and let's say prevention of the criminal activities, they really wanted to have a control over the encryption and like security and in some cases even like a backdoors to ruin the whole security. And the other side, there was like interests which are like, okay, let's protect our critical infrastructure highest possible standard. And like, inside the one government, there can be a conflicting ideas, and it was really, really hard to navigate in that space and get everybody agreed. So I feel you when you are saying that getting these standards in place, in addition to geopolitics, the AI is a huge control point in general. But yeah, for me, if I get to forget that complexity and focus on what they should enable, is that, yes, they should work as an like a enabler or facilitator for industry to innovate. Like building the vehicle where industry can innovate and build on top of the somehow aligned intent. But like, again, putting in simple terms, like regulating technology is a super hard and difficult area, and even risky, because if you start regulating technology without understanding the technology, you end up blocking the freedom of the developers and the real building the business. Like, I see a risk that EU is regulating itself out of the AI. Like, giving an example now, like we discussed that I'm living in New York, I see what kind of offering we have on AI and related items to our consumers. And when I travel to Europe, I get blocked on most of those. Things just stop working, and I'm okay because, I can expect it as a consumer, but I would think how frustrating it's for the developer. That all the developers in EU, they have to somehow wiggle themselves in a US market and compete with the people who are developing software in the US or China or other regions which are not so highly regulated in the EU. So they have access for all the functionality. They can test, they can run, they can be consumers for the systems which are not even available in EU. And as you know, consumer experience is a really on like enable for innovations. Like when you are using system, you start getting ideas how it can be better. But if you don't even have access for the service, how it's possible? Anyway, back to the idea is like, yes, they should enable the collaboration between the companies and be like a lubricant on innovation. And how to do it, it's probably case by case, but blocking freedom of implementation, freedom of innovation is probably not the way it should be done. And other thing has been long in my agenda as well, like early years of security, there really was a challenge that security was a bad business. Meaning that companies were not willing to invest for proactive security because customers didn't ask it. So nobody was asking you to do security system until it was too late. When the incident hits the fan, then everybody's asking security, but it's kind of too late. You should invest ahead of the time. And I've been since then thinking like, when there is this kind of emerging technology, what is evidently needed in future, but it's not a good business at the moment, the government, the EU, they should actually buy and utilize these systems, even though it's more expensive than the existing ones. But that's the best incentive for the business when, you know, my sales VP sees that the competitor company sales VP is announcing they just sold this wonderful system to the government with the big money, even though it was necessary today, but we all know it will be necessary in future. I start investing proactively as well because I don't want to lose my market for that guy. And who is having that money? It's the government and EU, what they are now channeling through the like subsidizing business and going after those who are making most of the noise, where the danger is that, like, again, seeing so much snake oil here, like there are really, really good sales people who are selling technologies which are not even existing yet. And the governments are funding research and science projects on those. But if governments and EU are actually buying products which are forward-looking technologies, which benefit the consumers and citizens of EU, then the money goes the right way. It actually goes those who are doers, not the salespeople only or consultants. Yeah. Nothing bad with the consultants. They have their place in the ecosystem as well. But if you want to have some concrete ideas, I think these are the main ideas coming into my mind immediately.
Amen. Hear, hear. Okay, we are coming to the end of our time here. One last question. You have, Janne, you've shaped standards. You have led security at some of the world's biggest tech companies. You have advised governments and you have advised the world's most important security organizations. Now, looking forward, what excites you the most about the future, either personally or professionally? So what excites you, and then on a more serious note, what keeps you awake at night?
Nothing keeps me awake at night on a negative side, which I'm happy. Maybe it comes through the experience that you have seen always things not perfect, but lately, like last 10 years, I've seen and learned that we're gonna be okay. Like, you know, things are falling in the darkness, but not like totally and holistically. There always will be trouble because the human mind and like we discussed, the investment for the proactive security is always challenging to people who are not operating in the area of security. So somehow I'm not worrying my nights out, but more positive note, like you said, sometimes I find myself too excited, like when I'm working with some of the smaller companies I'm helping with their security engineering, privacy engineering, and kind of compliance engineering efforts. I see so much opportunities there. Like, it's so nice to see that so many companies are having way better tool set, way better understanding, like availability of technologies, tools, processes, and understanding is huge. So nowadays, with a relatively small effort, you are able to put company on the right track. And when I see that in front of me, I get so excited because I always remember that struggle on like early 2000 when no matter what security, nobody needs security. There is too much security here. Like, why we are talking about this? Nobody's asking it. Yeah. Nowadays, people are aware it's there and they want to invest on it when you are putting the message right. And sometimes when I have an opportunity to talk some of the companies, I find myself already waking up 4 a.m. Today is the day that we can make the impact. And yeah, that's a really interesting thing. But of course, on the negative side, if thinking like what worries is exactly this, like, on the era of ransomware 3.0, which is this AI-driven automated attacks with polymorphic software, and then that area is it worries me. But again, I've been advocating automated incident response and especially like systems automated response to attacks over a decade, and when I started to think about this, there wasn't really any technologies available. It was really hard to get in concrete when I was talking about this topic. Okay, how are we gonna do it? Like, I don't know, machine learning maybe. Of course, machine learning is good for anomaly detection and DLP and things like that, but now AI is helping us to harvest this huge amount of system data and finding the issues, but also generating settings and setups which are then helping the automated response as well. Like one example of the potential I've lately seen, if you know a company called Valo AI, it's a kind of, I think there are Finnish guys in that company, and they are building AI-assisted configurations. And I think that's one big building block, that you can make actually dynamic configuration based on the attack patterns. And there I see like this is really getting me excited, and I shouldn't think this after like 8 p.m. because otherwise I don't sleep the whole night because I'm envisioning it so heavily.
That's your coffee.
But yeah, maybe too long story for one simple question. But as you can see, I'm getting excited on this.
Yes. I really loved your message that we're gonna be okay. It's very comforting. All right. This has been Janne Uusilehto, a visionary strategist, a corporate builder, an industry-wide collaborator and diplomat, a people-centric leader and mentor, a hands-on technical expert and problem solver, and the innovator and proactive change agent. Thank you for coming to Deep Pockets, Janne.
Thanks, it was great to be here. My pleasure.
You've listened to Deep Pockets with Petra Söderling, the show about government and innovation. If you liked today's episode, please subscribe, like, and share our show in your social media. It means a lot to me and to my guests. The wonderful music you heard is by a New Orleans Hall of Fame jazz icon Leroy Jones. Find this and other Leroy Jones tunes wherever you get your music. This podcast, as well as the recording of my audiobook, is done by Chris Elliott at Studio Agus in south of France. Get in touch with Chris to book studio time in our beautiful village, and why not come and taste the natural local wines from La Robina Winery while you're here. À votre santé!
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.